Dreams are small compared to yours. Why should I worry about tomorrow when I know that all I gotta do is trust you, Lord? Every little thing's gonna be alright. Every little thing's gonna be just fine. Whether I can see it now, I know you will work it out for good. Every little thing, everything will be alright. Behind the scenes and in the details, you plan the perfect way for me. Why would I dwell upon the roads and certainties when all I gotta do is look to you? Yeah, all I gotta do is look to you. Every little thing's gonna be alright. Every little thing's gonna be just fine. Whether I can see it now, I know you will work it out for good. Every little thing, everything will be alright. Every little thing, every little thing. Every little thing, everything will be alright. Whether I can see it now, I know you will work it out for good. Every little thing, everything will be alright.
We'll get started the last module before lunch.
Every little thing, every little thing. Every little thing, everything will be alright.
You good? Yeah.
Hot on the wire, and in the fire for so long. But you show me better.
Okay.
When you come around.
So we're going to move into what we call movement. This has to do with stress and distress. All right, hold on. Darren has a phone down.
Yes. Right. So I wrote down a question on my likes and dislikes.
Hey, everybody, listen up. Hold on. Listen to Darren.
And my dilemma is just being vulnerable here. Why is time and aspects of time so important? And if I could be free of that and still live in OR, I'd be a much better leader.
Say it again. Bobby was laughing. I look back and I tuned you out. So what was the last part you said?
I said if I could be free, more free of that, and not be so anal about time and aspects of time,
Yeah.
it would free. Yeah.
I would add that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think it's really hard for you to do that. It's really hard for me to do that. So it's this self-awareness piece. I really need it for my sake, but how can I end up still needing it, but not being so anal about it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's your skill that you have to really like.
You're not going to do that for me? Sweet.
No, I can talk to you about me. Josh can probably relate with that, I guess.
So I have a question. We were just talking about what role does maturity and self-awareness play into? Because with me being so far on the other end, probably two of my best friends are Will and JD that I work with, because I appreciate what they bring to the table, and hopefully they appreciate me. If they don't, I don't care.
I think those two guys would have a hard time telling you. They're both laughing, so they know I'm right. They're just... No, so hold on. So I'm tracking. So what is your question to me? Is that a question or just a statement? Oh. So I'm going to tell you what I think. Some of the most unself-aware people are people who are older. People who are what? Older. I don't think that's a given variable that they have self-awareness. So I believe that certain sequences have to realize it. Like, I really need to work on it. Sort of what Darren was sort of just processing, right? How old are you? 47. Yeah, I'm 48. So I'm still trying to work at me and how I connect with other people. So to your point, I think that older doesn't always define self-awareness. My experience has been age sometimes could make me more extreme. So I just sort of say, well, this is who I am. This is how I always will be. I talked to you guys yesterday on a very quick level about marriages, right? So I don't necessarily believe that, hey, because we reach it, we got it. I also believe there are sometimes age, because of their self-aware, really try to work at being different. That's a guy right there who has strong self-awareness, Mark Massey. There's some things he still does that probably gets in his way, but he's a student and he's learning more about how to be. So I believe sometimes age makes people like more here. And then sometimes they're like, okay, out of my experience, now they're working at it, I can try to adapt a little bit. I can adjust fire. I was in a scout unit, right? So if I could just pivot 2 or 3 degrees, is that a big deal in land math? We're just asking to pivot 1 or 2 degrees, not like 15. Can't do that. But if I can aware and say, okay, I need to work on how does this time thing, that's really hard for me. Your question is really hard. I have to really work at it. I almost have to not be myself, to practice not needing it so much, just to sort of see, I'm falling off the bike, but I'm trying to give it up a little bit. That's what I've had to do with Stephanie. Yeah. And over time, I'm learning like, okay, I still need it, but I'm not expressing it so much. It doesn't cause me so much internal that I begin to feel it. Does that answer your question about age? Mark, hold on, I'm gonna throw you the deal. And you can take like 60 seconds. Okay.
The big thing, and I go back to yesterday, what helped change me, and he mentioned it a while ago, is humility. If you've ever been broken and you've had an experience to break you, you begin to look in at yourself and you begin to make adjustments. This helps you make the adjustments. Just knowing that you need to change, why you need to change on time. But if you made a decision because you were a stickler for time, that can happen to you. But I'm going to tell you something. When the older you get and you've been broken, you understand that humility will drive you. Pride will destroy you.
Okay. Let's talk about movement. This is a module, again, I keep saying this, but I just want you to realize it, that I want you to teach your soldiers. And we believe we're just introducing you 2 or 3 high-level concepts. I put this module in because I believe every soldier in the Army needs to understand this. Families need to understand this and recognize this, okay? So we call this movement. So we're going to talk about your movement within a sequence at a very high level. We're going to come back in day 3, 4, and 5 and spend more time for our facilitators talking more about movement, but we're introducing it to you, okay? We're just going to look at your dislikes and their effects, which we just did, and we're going to talk about unhealthy choices in your distress cycle. So this is a pivot module. We've spent the first 5, 6 modules really talking about self-awareness. Now we're going to sort of begin talking about the other person. So we're sort of doing a both and. So what we've done is talk about your self-awareness, and for us, knowing others is what we call reconnaissance. We really want you to learn about the other person. And so then you can end up saying, what do I need to do to make it better? So we want you to know yourself. We want your other people in your squad to know themselves. And then we want both of you to learn about each other. And if you can end up doing that and putting that together, right, we call that engagement. Sorry. So I'm going to give you an example. I thought engagement was there. So I'll get to that in a minute. So I have a video clip. All right, it's a part 1 video clip. And I just want you to see how the wife of this video clip is. I just want you to watch her choices. I want you to watch how she communicates. I just want you to observe, okay? And then I'm going to come back and show this clip, part 2 of this clip, in a few minutes. And it's going to demonstrate movement, that who we are in our first 2 letters is that we're not always those first 2 letters, okay? So just watch this clip.
Excellent dinner, honey.
Oh, thank you. I love having you all over. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But you know what? Maybe we should hit the hay. The sooner we go to bed, the sooner we get to wake up and open up our Christmas presents.
So where do you want us all sleeping, Denise?
I can sleep anywhere. When I camped in Yosemite, I slept bareback on a rock.
Well, you know what? I jotted down the sleeping arrangements on my iPad. Woo woo. Okay, here we go. Grandma and Grandpa, you'll be in the master. Ron and Babs,
Hey.
you'll be on the bunk beds in the kids' room. Paul,
Yeah, baby.
you and I will be on the air mattress. and,
But honey, you know I have a bad back. I can't sleep on.
and kids, you'll be on the couch.
Denise, I hate to be a wet blanket, but because of my chronic bladder situation, I cannot be more than 10 feet away from the bathroom.
Oh, of course, Ron. Not a
It
problem.
doesn't even have to be like a bathroom, though. It can be like an open window or a
No,
sink.
no,
or
no, no,
something.
no.
We'll figure
No,
something.
no, that's
All
okay.
right, thank you.
You know what? In that case, Ron and Babs, you take the master and Grandpa and Grandma. You take the bunk beds. Everyone happy?
Yeah, all right, okay.
Okay.
All right, see you
Good
tomorrow.
night, everyone.
Have a good night. Discuss the meeting now,
Love you,
baby.
love you, love you. I think you just plug it in.
So just really quick, if you had to guess her first 2 letters, what do you think they would be based on what you heard her say and what her choices were? And I've learned not to guess. I don't guess anymore because of movement. But if you just sort of had to see that clip. Huh? Let's just go 2 letters. C, EC. Okay. So you gave me like 3 options there.
No, I'm saying EC or EO.
Oh, okay, EC or EO. Okay, somebody else? I won't throw this at you, but just really quick, just. OE because? Oh, I am gonna throw this because, hold on. Here you go, hold on. Go ahead.
She loves to make lists. She's organizing the people and she's making a quick decision, taking charge.
Okay. What else? Anybody else say anything?
I think she's OR because she likes organizing people, but she also did some research. She came up with those reasons on purpose.
Okay. All right. Josh and Darren, would you say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you? Would you communicate that way? And never come out of your mouth with it. Like that. Like, right? So I'm not here to try to us guess. I'm just trying to I want you to begin to recognize how people make choices. We make choices all the time. I'm really want to focus on movement, because what you saw her do then is going to be different than when you see her do later. Okay? So we're complex. So our first two letters represent those things that you need, or what you value most, or what you like. So Darren's OR, this is, JD's EC, you got me, Jeff, and David, who are COs and OCs, right? So that's what first two letters mean. And usually we talk about low stress in those two letters. So we talk about negative movement is a result of the presence of dislikes. So we talk about negative movement moves from left to right. So we move from a low stress, things are good, I got my stuff in order, at least for me and you. I got a plan, Josh and I, we make our calendar's good, we're sticking to it, we're hitting all cylinders, right? Things are good for us. Josh and Darren and I could end up moving from left to right when we end up something happening here that moves us. And every sequence moves differently because our sequences are different. Or let me rephrase that. The reasons why we move are differently. But we all move from left to right. And so that we call that negative movement. All right, so I don't want you to go back and do this, but we just spent a whole module on looking at your two-letter dislikes. Correct? So what we're saying is that if people in your life create you to have dislikes, then we believe that you're moving that way with that individual. Okay? But we move to the right negatively, not just because of people in our lives, but the environments that we are in. Okay? So to go back, Jeff and I had a really good conversation up here earlier. And my comment was, and his comment, I believe that we both agree on this, is that, hey, human is complex. It's not as simple as we say. And I think this is why, for us, we need you to understand movement. Because we spent 6 modules talking about first, second letter, but now we want to introduce the soldier and you and their family into this concept of movement at a very high level, where you could end up being in your first two letters, but when stress comes, you end up moving to your yellow position, your stress position. And we end up making different choices because we're in that position.
I think you just plug it into the wall.
So let's
hon.
watch
Is that right?
this.
Okay.
Good morning,
everybody,
and Merry
Christmas.
Oh, no, it's not Christmas yet. Not Christmas yet. That'd be crazy.
Well, Kevin, son, wow, we thought you couldn't make it.
Yeah, I wanted to surprise you guys. Everyone, this is my fiance, Kristen.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, all right.
I hope you don't mind, Mom. I told her you found her a place to sleep.
Oh, yeah, of course. We'll make room for you. The more the merrier. Woo-woo, Christmas. Okay, so let's just rearrange. That means Ron and Babs,
Hey.
you'll be on the couch.
But my bladder thing.
Oh, right. You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Just stay in the mouth. Grandpa and Grandma, you'll be on the couch. Paul,
Yeah, baby.
you and I will be on the lower bunk. Kevin,
Oh, yeah?
you'll be on the top bunk.
Okay.
And Kirsten?
It's Kristen.
Kristen, sorry. You'll be on the air mattress. And kids, you'll be on the futon in the laundry room.
But honey, my back, I can't sleep on that bunk bed. It's like sleeping on a rock.
When I slept on a rock in Yosemite, it was hard as a rock. That's what it was.
Okay, so is everyone happy?
Good
Good
night.
Love you.
Oh, good morning, everybody. And Merry Christmas.
No, not Christmas yet. Not Christmas yet. That would be crazy. Not Christmas.
Uncle Bill and Aunt Eileen. Oh,
We
wow.
tried sleeping in the car.
But since the incident, we get the nightmares. Can we spend the night?
Yeah. Yes. Of course you can spend the night. Woo, Christmas. Okay. Yeah, we'll just rearrange. change. Okay, in that case, Bill and Eileen, you take the master.
But my bladder's
Get a
itching.
bucket.
Okay.
Grandma and Grandpa. You're gonna take the lower bunk. Kirsten. Where are you, Kirsten? It's Kristen. Oh, sorry. Kristen. You're gonna take the top bunk. Ron Babs.
Hey.
You'll be on the air mattress. Kids, you're gonna sleep on the futon in the laundry room. Kevin.
Oh, yeah?
You're gonna sleep under a table. Paul.
Yeah, baby.
You're gonna sleep on the pool table in the rec room.
My back.
And I will sleep sitting upright in a dining room chair. Is everyone happy?
Sounds good. All right, see you in the
Good
morning.
news.
Grab my bucket.
We made it work.
All right.
Love you all. Good night, Kirsten. Good night.
It's Kristen.
There you go.
Oh, good morning, everybody.
For goodness sake, it's not Christmas yet. Oh, Pastor Dave. Look, it's Pastor Dave. Yay.
Hey, Pastor
Dave.
The heat's out at the house and it's cold as a rock.
Of course.
Did I mention that when I slept on that rock, it was cold as a rock?
Yes.
Oh, I've never heard of
Do you mind if I spend the night?
Yes, of course you can spend the night. What are you talking about? Yes. We'll just make room for you.
All right, kids, come on in.
Kids.
I brought 3 of them.
Oh, good. Oh, there's more. Okay, that's fine. Just listen up. Everyone just listen up. All right. Bill and Eileen.
Oh, yeah.
You take the master. Ron and Babs. Air mattress. Grandma. Couch. Kevin.
Oh, yeah?
Under a table. Kirsten. You're going to sleep on an ironing board in the sewing room. Kids. Laundry room. Pastor Dave.
Denise?
You'll sleep on the top bunk. One of your kids will take the bottom bunk and one of your kids will take the bathtub.
That's only 2 kids.
Okay, well, the other one can take the doggy bed. Everyone happy?
You know what, Mom, Dad? I think we're just gonna get rooms at the Hyatt.
What?
Yeah, I can get you guys a corporate discount on my credit card.
What?
All right.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's go. I know we just got here, but
What
we're
do we have an air mattress?
Just get off of Twitter once.
I
Just
broke
live
my
in the
iPad.
moment.
No, wait. No, it's okay.
I'm taking your bucket. I hope that's okay.
Christmas. Paul.
It's a corporate
You're
discount.
back.
Oh, good morning, everybody. And Merry
Okay, for goodness sake,
Christmas.
it's not Christmas. No, it's Christmas now.
Easy. Well, did we see the lady in the first position? How was she? Caring, like appeasing, but then as cumulative stress came in her life, what happened? Was her choices different? Can you now do that? We all do that. We all move. Some of us look worse than others. And I believe that's based on your sequence. Usually when you go get a job interview, you never tell them how you really look like. Right? We never show that card. We're always like, hey, this is what I have. I'm good. But all of us have what we look like, and we get that. We understand that. But usually our families really know what we look like. I can tell you this about my father. My father is the same publicly and privately. Like, he doesn't have these two things going on, which is what you've been talking about a couple of times, if I think you've been hitting on that a little bit. So some of us have that going on. And what we begin to talk about is negative movement, right? But not all negative movement, in the sense when it comes to cumulative stress, is bad. Because the Army teaches us this. When the Army does training, is it usually in a stress environment or a non-stress environment? Stress. So why do we do that? One reason. It's not the only reason, but just open-ended here.
That's your growing, your room for growth.
Yes. So we talk about that. So we say your first position is your green position. So we call it, Army calls it eustress. Bobby, matter of fact, told me like, hey, Rob, let's call it good stress. Junior leaders will get good stress. So let's put good stress up there. That's good, right? It's positive stress that's going to end up causing us to grow. And if I look back in my life, it's usually in those moments where I had a lot going, where I had to sort of learn how to manage that. Chaplain Coyne, Brian gave me a a study on a piece of paper, and I looked at it. I haven't been able to work it in, but anyway, it's really good. I read it and I looked some of it up. Talk about the good things of stress. And there's a lot of great studies out there. But the Army knows that if I can end up putting you into stress, there's a stress point that you come to where it's growth, but what happens? If we leave you in a long period of time, what ends up happening? It becomes what? Negative. So the coach, you talk about coaching, a coach, good coaches know this, right? We push our team to a point where we're preparing them, but we can push too hard where we end up, it begins to work against us. And so our good stress, which really is negative, I mean, it's a positive reason, it could end up going negative. So I talked to JD. I'll give you a very practical example. JD is EC. As a student, I believe the majority of his sequences procrastinate in being a student, whether he's 15 or 45. His age doesn't change that sequence choice of procrastinating on studying. But guess what comes into his life to cause him stress? An exam. And guess what that exam causes him to do? Hunker down. If he never had the exam, guess what probably wouldn't happen? Right? So is that exam a bad thing? No. We all have things in our life that causes us to move to second position, which is good. So our positions, in our first position, some of it can be good and some of it cannot. Depends upon the sequence that we're with. And the same in second position. I'm going to throw you this.
Is this where the numbers start to come into play, where if there's a greater discrepancy from our primary to our secondary positions, that we feel that stress more quickly, more acutely, but if they're more leveled out, that stress is a little more gradual and it takes a little longer for us to feel it?
Yes. Yeah, so I talked about high numbers in our last about flexibility and adaptability. Some of us can do this easier than others. That, in some ways that can be good, in other ways that can be bad. I've had some people in my life to tell me, Rob, you're too flexible for me. Well, I'm dealing with somebody in my life that can't be flexible like me, but that could end up being in my connection with them, my relationship with them. I need to sort of not be so flexible, like they need to be a little more here, right? So yes, to answer your question, that's where this comes out. So, yes.
So I'm starting to question my whole sequence, because yesterday when I was taking, when I was looking at the words, how I defined the words, it was just me looking at them. And then when I was trying to get the numbers to even out, some of the words they're almost similar. So I just chose a word that balanced it out. I don't know if anybody else did that.
You're trying to game it, you mean? To make yourself look a certain way?
No, I was, because I didn't really have the full understanding of it, so I couldn't. But if you call it gaming, then yeah. But did anybody find themselves like trying to, even out the numbers, as it said, like your number, the number is too
You're
high.
not breaking your tie.
Right.
Oh.
And you just chose something that you resonate with. And now as we move along, maybe I had the wrong choice. I don't know.
So he's talking about breaking your tie, like you had.
I see you smiling over there. I don't know if you did the same thing.
No, I'm okay with what you're saying, right?
The reason why I say this is like, as we go along, it's like, it seems so rigid. Like there's no flexibility when you talk about the sequence. You know what I mean? It almost seems like it's not subjective, like it's concrete. I know, I understand you talk about the movement, but you know what I'm saying? Everything you say is a sequence. And it just seems so rigid. I don't know. That's just me. And I don't want to be offensive.
Oh, you're not offensive at all. Not
I'm
offensive at all.
saying it just seems, it's not flexible.
Don't your comments right now sort of validate, aren't you eager? Wouldn't that sort of validate?
I mean,
EO.
it's easy to be manipulated, you know what I'm saying, when you, if you believe certain of the concepts. So even if you say I'm an E first, he might have struck your chord with something that he said that make you think that an E first person think a certain way because it resonates with you. But what if it doesn't resonate with you? You wouldn't think that way.
I'm just saying, I'm not an E first, but I'm just thinking that your comments about it's too rigid and doesn't provide the flexibility. Doesn't that sort of?
Yeah, he doesn't like,
What we would say.
he doesn't like rigidity. Is that a word, Darren?
Right? Knowledge is known as tomatoes and fruit. Wisdom is known that you can't put a tomato in a fruit salad. That's the difference, right? So, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm losing y'all, but when I look at it, I picked it, but now, you know what I'm saying, I understand it moving along. Really look at it.
I'm okay with you where you are. I'm good with that. I'm good with that, right? I think what Tim was saying is that if you look at dislikes, I mean, this is a, to go back to Jeff's comment to me, Jeff, Jeff, you're OCRE, so I'm gonna go off track just for like 2 minutes here. So we got a head letter, we have a heart letter, head letter, heart letter, head letter, head letter, heart letter, head letter, heart letter. Do you guys see that? There's another example where we have head, heart going on. And I believe those sequences, man, they can feel, think all the time. And so just stay with me. I think what Tim's comment is that E people, I think doesn't like rigid rules as a dislike for an E person, which is sort of your critique on what we just said, right? If anything, I think the more we talk, I think we're going to end up giving you way more flexibility in your movement than other widgets. Because you can be really complicated. Your sequence you think, you feel, you're controlling here. I believe you don't get your way, you can end up having anger pieces, right? But you're still head, heart here, and then you end up going here, which we'll talk about that in a minute. So that's really complex, and we're going to talk about that day 3, day 4.
I mean, when you look at the you said if I don't get my way, I can be angry, right? But if I have that self-awareness,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nothing that can really anger me because I'm in control.
I get it. You need to be in control. So I believe that based on what you've talked to me, you've really worked on yourself as a person. So what we're not saying in our sequence that you always will be this way or you will always make the same choice just because your letters and numbers are that way. I think you can really work on it, but I think what you really struggle with is that sometimes you can be impulsive with what you say quickly, even if I think your struggle is that you haven't cognitively thought of that yet because it could just come out really quick. I think that's an area you got to really work on. And you probably end up doing that with your son. But you're older now, age, experience, and what we're saying is that you don't always have to be who your sequence is. We're not even saying that. We're saying there's hope. Like I can end up making a different choice, but we just got to have the understanding to know what we need to know it, have self-awareness, and then we need to understand the other. And I'm saying, hey, I want my next 24 years of my marriage with Stephanie to be different. So even though my sequence does this, I don't always have to trip over myself. So I don't think that's rigid at all. Like I think that we're saying, hey, Darren, you got to work on that time thing. Even though your sequence would naturally do that, it doesn't mean that he's destined to always do that. So I'm just saying, I don't think that we're rigid at all in that sense. But I understand your critique, so I'm good with you staying there right now. Jeff, you're thinking on me, so I don't mind bringing you in the loop for a minute.
I'm trying to just make sure I understand the question first. Is it a question of...
You're talking about him?
Correct.
All right. Let me throw you this just for people in the room to hear you.
Is the question you're wondering if your initial assessment of yourself was accurate? Okay. And then the problem that you're getting frustrated by, or whether that's the right word or not, is I'm not sure that was accurate, but I have this sequence now, and it feels like we're making a lot of my sequence. We're drawing a lot of conclusions, hard conclusions based on whatever my sequence is. Yeah. And so if it wasn't accurate, then, right. So
I hear what you're saying. I opened the door for you to express what you feel too. I know, no, it's good. It's good. So that's Jeff's. I know that's why I threw it to you. That's good. I'm good with that. He asked me the same question. He was thinking, so I wanted to draw Jeff in because that's really important, right? That's really important. I'm good in my class for you guys to talk this, right? I mean, I don't know if I'm just really glad we're having a dialogue about how you guys move. And if that's all that we did is help you become self-aware, that could be really important. If that's all that you do with your soldiers to create dialogue, I'm good with that. Because out of dialogue, you're going to have a lot of good things. We're going to change lives and save lives.
I mean, you said it earlier that, you know, this could be a tool of manipulation. If y'all ever read the book of the 48 Laws of Power, you know, when you look at it, you can have a better understanding. Like,
I think people with bad character do that with anything.
you know, people judge others on their own belief. You know what I mean? What they believe, what they hold to be true. So if, you know, the things that I've said, if it can resonate with you, you're like, hey, that looked like an E person, naturally. If somebody else behind you think the same way, it's gonna resonate. But if not, you'll be like, nah, that's not an E, that's an R, you know, regardless.
I don't want you to do that. I think that's what other widgets do. I don't want you to say how he's an ER because I think you're all 4 letters. And hopefully in time you'll get that. Yep. Last question, then we're gonna move on.
Yeah, so you said in response to his question about manipulation, you said that people with bad character can do that anyway.
I do that.
So with that in mind, and looking at your story with the general's 4-letter sequence, you looked right at him and told him he was a jerk just by seeing his sequence. Where, I mean, by my guessing here, there's 4.
I don't have any.
possible letters.
I didn't put jerk in any of those lists for y'all to do.
Okay.
Because I think we all can be a jerk at some time to
Well,
somebody.
conclusion based on his sequence.
Because I've surveyed 12,000 people.
Does that mean
There's 16 different.
I was right about him. Accurate.
So where's bad character? What's that look like, I guess, is my question.
Within the sequence?
Yeah.
I think all sequences can have character flaws. If I ask you what your character flaw is, what would it be? I think everybody has something that we all struggle with.
I guess that's your dislike.
Well, obviously you can see that in there because you were able to tell the general immediately.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a risk taker, so I took a shot with the general.
But there's only 16 different combinations that there could possibly be.
I think there's 7,920 sequences based on letters and numbers. Mathematically. So we're just trying to, we're not trying to teach soldiers 7,920. We're just trying to teach them very simple concepts like let's talk about movement. Let's talk about, right? So your questions are really good, right? So I'm not trying to ask you guys to be me. I'm not trying to ask you to do that to your general. I mean, a real issue question that I continue to get, not since I've been out of active duty, even before it, is that we're scared you're going to like plug somebody a certain way. I totally get that, right? I believe how we set the table, that God doesn't make any junks. All wirings are good. We all have strengths and we all have areas that we need to work on. And we need to be really self-aware of that and be honest about that. And then how can we communicate that to our soldiers and families to connect better? I mean, to change lives and save lives. I mean, that's really good.
I mean, maybe the frustration is probably not.
I hear it. That's okay.
I'm a little bit frustrated because
Here, go ahead.
everything, you know, every product you look at, it's all about application. So if we can't grasp the concept, it might seem simple to you because you might have had 12,000 classes, but it might be difficult to me because I'm just learning it, you know what I mean? So is it possible for me, if I don't really grasp the concept, you know what I mean, the ideology behind this core, for me to go out and mislead or manipulate somebody subconsciously out of my awareness? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's-
I would, my answer to you is that I think if you look at your, have you given any assessments yet?
I mean, I got some people in my squad I've looked at, you know, and I'm just,
So let's just, I'm not going to ask who, just open one up for me. Okay? So I'm spending some time here because I'm choosing to spend some time here with you. Okay? So don't tell us who. One that's in your, close to you.
okay.
And I agree with you, man, I want to be practical. Like I really want to help you connect with that. So pull up that individual.
Okay.
And then do you see the connect button?
Yeah, I connected all.
No.
Good.
Go to connect. Okay, so we're giving you practical advice. Say you should do these things because of these things. So that's what we want you to do. We just want you to do these practical things, right? And we have likes. We give you some real practical advice. Here's dislikes of that one person. That's all we want you to do. When you push on dislikes, it will pop up. You should because this person likes, or you should not because this person dislikes. We're trying to help you just communicate. So we're just trying to get practical with you. That's what we want you to do. That's what we want your soldiers to do is those practical things. And if you do those practical things, I believe that we will have better teams and we will connect
I'm
better.
looking at this person, and I don't see none of this in this person.
Okay? So we missed it.
Like, there's somebody I know.
Yeah. So what's their sequence? Give me their letters.
COER.
Okay. So what do we tell you to do with a C person likes?
Treat them, because they're caring, treat them lovingly and kindly. Be honest and genuine. Be organized.
That's what I say to do to them. Is that true about you, Tim? So here's what I'm saying to you. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not true. I'm saying to you, I believe if I was you, that's what they value and what they like, even though you don't see it.
They chose those words to get that combination. So either they mistested or misread.
Right. So if they mistested everything I'm pouring out, you know, they might regurgitate because that's not them. You know what I mean? So that's.
So you trust them to make the choice to choose the right words? And you send that to them? Maybe they were distracted.
I mean, words can. A lot of words have. A lot of things have a lot of ambiguity. For example, if I was talking to Jeff outside, if we take the word brave for example, right? And we had a bunch of infantrymen in here.
Here you go.
The word brave is like on the battlefield kicking in doors and rescuing people, right? But if you have somebody that has failed relationship or whatever, it take a brave person to go back into a relationship, or somebody that's been divorced. It take a brave person to remarry, right? It take a brave woman to have a child. So the way you define those words, you know what I mean, determine the end result. You know what I mean? I don't know. We gonna move on. I don't want to hold up the class.
I won't let you hold the class up. But here's what I want to do. I want you to call that person. For me, I'm interested if I miss them on their likes.
Okay.
Just say, do you like this? Do you like when people do this? And then read them that likes on O's, and then read them their dislikes, and I like to hear from that person.
I mean, if it's a C, I mean, all of us like when somebody cares about us. All of us.
I don't. I relate.
So here's what I'm saying. Okay, hold on. So
I would disagree.
Okay, hold on. Listen, okay. I don't want to put you on the spot, but here's what I'm struggling with you.
Yes.
You had two people who disagreed with you, and you're telling them, I disagree with y'all.
So what's wrong with that?
I just would say you miss me. You don't know me.
So I'm trying to mirror to you. You're strongly opinionated. Your sequence is strongly opinionated. You have deep beliefs to the point sometimes you can't see something new.
Okay.
And I'm just telling you, go back to this C person. I mean, you just had an OREC, ORCE that says, hey, that's not me. And you're like, I disagree with it.
It's important to me, but it's not the most important to me.
Oh, I never said it was, the most important. I'm just saying that, all of us have some form of, I want somebody here. I'm not saying that it's the most important, right? What does that mean? Because I don't know. But who doesn't want somebody to have a little bit of care, right? So yesterday I talked about the tool belt versus the toolbox. You know what I mean? The tool belt is who we are every day on a daily basis. Our toolbox is not who we are, so it might be difficult, it might be challenging, but whenever needed, we can reach down in our toolbox to get the job done and put that tool back when we're done. So although you're not a lovey-dovey person, right? If the situation fits, you might draw on a little bit of love, right? A little bit of caring, use it and put it back. That's all I was saying.
Yeah. So I follow that. I'd like to find out about that specific person. And that's not to say I'm wrong and you're right. I'm curious.
I wonder if they read their, we don't have access to their opening paragraph. We only see our opening paragraph.
Correct.
Right? We can't
Correct.
see theirs. I wonder if they read that when they agreed.
Yeah. I'm asking what they think about it, not what you think. That's really, I'm saying the same thing you are. Like, what does this COER think about what we did for them? Is that accurate? Right. And because what I said, we'll talk about perceptions. Perceptions matter a lot. Okay, so let's move. Can I throw you your deal in here? No, it's okay. Sorry.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I don't remember this gentleman's name, but he had asked you specifically, like, how did you know the
Right.
general was a jerk? Like,
Right.
like, could you just,
I took a shot. I took a chance to see if that was true or not. I told you I'd take risk, right?
but
I was
or-
either yes or no, and I've learned to take a chance on that. I mean, so let's talk about context. Whoever tells the general anything in the Army, maybe they're advised team of some kind, maybe his wife, maybe. So she was. Correct. And that was true. Whole family was scared of him. So we took a shot, right? We just swung for the fence. And he could have been like you, like, that's not right, Chaplain. Oh, okay, I'm wrong. At least I took a shot to say it. Right? Yeah.
But Rob,
So
you
anyway,
had
to your point-
you had clues based on his sequence.
Yes.
That caused you to think it was worth taking a shot with him.
That's correct.
And so what are those clues?
Yeah, he was a C0.
And heavy OR, is that right? Okay. And so okay, so a couple other things. So part of to get to UConn, one of UConn's points is we're introducing the concept of movement today, and like Rob mentioned, we're not expecting you to get all this to yesterday and today, and so that's why we're here for a full week, and hopefully by the end of the week you walk out of here maybe not a master in the concepts, but a lot more comfortable and confident in some of that, and so we're
Is there something that when we leave here on the fifth day, I can go back and say, based on the study of blah, 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 I can really go back and see the works of these people, basically have a better understanding of course.
So what do you mean by works?
Whatever they study, the personality traits.
Have you ever heard of love language? Have you ever heard of the
Behavior cycle, whatever it is, for me to kind of grasp the total package.
So let me ask you a question. So I asked Jeff this question. So have you ever heard of the book Love Language?
Yeah,
Do you believe it?
Yes.
Did you ever look at a study of it?
I look at the people, and I didn't look at the study. And if I say I look at the entire study, I'd be lying, but
I know. So my problem is that we're inconsistent. Like we ask for one thing, and I was telling Jeff, I came back to Jeff, and this is not defensive. I'm just trying to say in my processing, right? Answer your question. I don't have a study to give you my peer review. We also know that we have looked at people, and the lady that we've got this from are in temperament theory. So it's come through, and there's a lot of studies on that, right? But then there's some things that we're like, hey, I read it in the book. Hey, this is me. I sound good. Oh, hey, once you give to this, does it work?
Accept the 5 love languages. I had to go back and do some, how did you come up with it?
But did you ask the author, or you just talk to the person?
I don't know. I went on, Google has everything. So I went and tried to analyze, like how different people, view these love languages in order for me to get to a conclusion, although the conclusion might not be right.
So we're asking you just to take on 5 days and just start giving an assessment and see if it works, right? And in your process, you may like, hey, I can't use this tool. And I'm good with that. Like we move on, right? That's what we're.
Yeah. So and a few other things to build on that. So the lady that derived this assessment out of temperament theory, she's a behavioral sciences researcher from University of Washington, and so that's what a lot of our framework is based off of, is the assessment that she designed, and then some of the base interpretations out of that. And so that there's a reason why the instructions are like they are. You have to break the ties. You go with your gut. I'm an engineer. I'm an oil field engineer, so I'm not going to pretend to understand how she came up with the design of that assessment. But the rules and the instructions in that are specific for a reason. And so we've taken that assessment, and Rob, you say you've done it 10,000 or so times with a really high degree of accuracy. And so what we're asking this week is, as we go through it, is just say, hey, are we at least 80% right? Is this 80% helpful? We're not trying to present you with a silver bullet to fix yourself in all relationships and choices for all time. We're just trying to put something that's rapid and useful and deployable in people's hands to make an improvement, make a difference. And we know it will save lives because it's done that. And so that's just what we're asking you to consider for the week is this something that I can use to make my life and somebody else's life a little bit better, and our team a little bit better? And then lastly, I just want to come to one of Darren's comments, or something you said about Darren, about he was talking about time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, hey, we're not saying there's no hope for Darren, like he can't make adjustments along the way. That's true, because there's a whole lot of other factors, and Darren can make those choices, and he makes them better if he's self-aware, but he will struggle with that tension, because that's how he's wired, and he can manage it better through experience and reps and practice, but that tension will be there. Medicine, yeah.
I know on our team, like me and him working together as an EC and an OR, I have a lot of ideas. Like I want to be fun and go. There's a great foundation in working with him when I'm self-aware. I know that I can be that way. I see it. So working with him and his rigidity sometimes gives me a lot of stability. And it makes our team stronger when he's working with his like time crunch kind of thing that seems maybe negative. But for me, it's a safe place to work with guys like you. And I know Rob's mentioned this kind of stuff before. And then to the E, I mean, like, I hate every personality assessment on the market. I hate them. I hate the boxes. I hate having to be in some type of structured thing to say, you don't know me. Like, And if I want to be something different tomorrow, maybe I'll be something different. Like, and that's part of my sequence. And as a self-aware, like as I'm learning this stuff, and I'm also applying it to like children. Like I see my children, and one of them wants comfort by hugs and love, but the other one, if I hug him, he's like, he doesn't want any part of that. So I'm starting to learn how to identify these things in other people. But to that, I just wanted to say as an E, I love working with you guys sometimes.
No, great questions. Brian asked you to ask questions today, and so I allowed for that during that time.
Yeah, one last thing about the assessment and Rob, we have the power now. But that's why, but this dynamic is also part of the reason by the design of the tests, we really believe the first assessment. Now, if someone's driving down the road and they're taking it and they flippantly, check a bunch of boxes and send it, then that's one thing. But as long as they're, focused for a couple minutes and do it, Rob's going to tell you, we go with that first assessment, because as soon as they take it and then we start having any kind of conversation around that and they want to be something else or whatever, then this whole, it can get into like a hyper-analyzation. And so that's why we believe that the first assessment that a person does is going to be the most accurate and paint the best picture.
Okay, any questions? Any questions? Good questions. So the way that we move, the concept is that all of us move from left to right. Okay, we all move from left to right. Our sequences are different, but we all move. But what causes us to move is different. So for this sequence, I'm saying to you, if you have a C first, like the one you just gave me, and I believe that you end up doing what they didn't like, right? It would end up moving them to the right, which is their stress position, which is their yellow position, right? For an OREC, like Josh, right, Josh? No, like Darren. Don't mess if you don't give him his R, you do what the R doesn't like, it's going to move him to his yellow position. The next sequence, you have an ECRO, JD, right? If I end up crushing you, making you be rigid all the time, every time, I think that's what your pastor did to you, and you were in yellow position with him. Okay? And it made you move to a yellow position. It's all three different things. Every sequence has something different that moves them. So if I'm RCOE, right, that's my wife, I'm going to end up moving her to her yellow position. So that's the concept. We all move. All of us move. And then if I end up creating more conflicts with my wife, she's going to sit in her yellow position, and then I'm going to end up moving her to her red position. So I want you to hear what I did to my wife.
So there are things that we do to other people that they don't like. And it causes them to move in a negative way from right to left. And we do that over time. It also creates environment. So I'm a dad of 3 girls. And I have heard for many years that somebody's perception is not reality. And I've begun to realize that there's some untruth to that, because I've concluded that somebody's perception is reality. So for example, how somebody views me or what I do to them really influences them. And so I may think that I have a green environment in my home, but they may view that I'm in a yellow environment. Another simple way of seeing that is the presence of a parent who's a hard disciplinarian. The child can end up being very fearful. So we have this happy child, the dad or mom comes home and the child changes. So in the perception of the child, their environment just changed by the presence of a parent. So let me just tell you a story about how, as a husband, we've gone from green environment to a yellow and red environment with my wife, Stephanie. So I'm O first, and we've already looked in our slides that people who are O third or O fourth would perceive me as very rigid and bossy. And so I've learned, I used to battle that, say I'm not really, and then I've just learned I really am. The way that I'm viewed is that way, and I can come across as very bossy, which is not good for Stephanie's sequence. But when I continue to give her things that she doesn't like over and over and over again, it's not only that she doesn't like them as her sequence, but her environment begins to change. And about 10 years ago, I found our environment in our home changing because of me, because of what I was doing to Stephanie, of causing her to not like me. We weren't friends. I may have had a cap on that says husband, but my cap didn't say friend. We weren't friends because I wasn't doing things that she liked. I continued to do things to her that she didn't like. I was very rigid. I was very bossy. And it caused her environment to go from yellow to red. And in her environment, when it's red, she can experience levels of depression. And we have a 3-year-old. And I remember walking in one day, realizing that I'm the one that caused Stephanie to be where she is. It wasn't her fault. It was my fault. And I think it's important to remember that as dads and as moms and even as children or people that we work with, is that we're the ones that create colors of environment for other people because of how we treat them. We do things to them that they don't like over time. And when you do that over time, you move people into yellow and red environments. So it's really important that your choices that you do impact either people positively or negatively.
Yeah, so we're about to break for lunch. We're in the middle of our module. So we impact each other. Our words impact each other. In the wisdom writings, it says, words, either you can build up or tear down. There's no in between on that. Either I'm building it up or I'm tearing it down. So we all know the concept that we influence each other or we impact each other. And some of us aren't aware of how we impact the other person. And that was I didn't call it at the time a core moment, but that was a really big moment for me when I began to realize that where Stephanie was with depression in the bed with a 3-year-old, couldn't take care of it, was a lot my fault. And I think we all have people in our lives that we have even felt either we're in a yellow or red because of them, or we do that to other people. And it's just important to understand that. And I want your soldiers to get this and their families to get this because this is taking place in their home. And we're going to come back to talking leadership, how it takes place in leadership, but that will be in day 3, day 4, day 5. All right, let's take a 30-minute. Are you good with 30-minute? 30-minute lunch. So it's 12. We'll start back at 12:30. Food is out there. Is that right, guys? And good morning. Hey, Joe, turn me on.
I've never known better than living like this. I cannot resist you up. I'm lifting you higher, higher. There's nothing that I'd rather do. Sweet elevation, our presence. There's no one I love more than you. I never knew love like this before. The kind of life that I cannot find on my own. I've seen the world, but I have never been so sure that I want your heart. God, I just wanna be